Underneath all the extravagant cutscenes, political rants, and goofy humor, Metal Gear's about one thing: stealth. And for me, there's only one of the games that nails it for me, and it's a spin-off game. Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops is a surprising game to find the kind of qualities I enjoy in a stealth game, but this game just hits everything in just the right way. After MGS 3, the next MGS games set to release were all portable titles, with Acid 1 and 2 being the first to hit the portable console. The main thing different with the Acid series though is that it was mainly a turn-based strategy game with cards that would be used for actions. While the game was good, it was clear that the system needed a more standard Metal Gear experience that people would come to expect. Enter Portable Ops, a game set 6 years after Snake Eater, and also partially not canon, in that according to Kojima, Big Boss was in San Geronimo during the time this game takes place in, but the events of the game itself didn't happen, so it's vague as to what actually happened with Big Boss during the 70s. The game brought gameplay similar to MGS3 but redesigned to work with portable hardware. There was no camo system anymore, instead we were back to the classic Metal Gear gameplay. The maps were tight, almost maze-like with all the entrances and exits that they tend to have, and you only have your wits to rely on. There's no Soliton radar either, instead you have this new thing called a surround indicator, letting you know how loud you and your enemies are, and it tells you the direction based on how loud the sound is. Your inventory was limited too, letting you only equip a mixture of weapons or items, up to 4 of them. This could be circumvented by having additional squad mates that you ended up recruiting, letting you carry 16 items. As you played through the game, you would recruit soldiers to your side by bringing them into a truck. You would equip them with whatever weapons and gear that you were developing thanks to your team, meaning that the higher team rating that you got, the better weapons and gear you'd end up developing for them too. The gameplay loop of Portable Ops involved gathering intel, recruiting soldiers, and developing weapons and gear so that you could take on Gene and his rogue Foxy in it, and stop Metal Gear. I feel it's important to at least mention the main version of Portable Ops because after its initial release, another version of Portable Ops was released, Portable Ops Plus. Portable Ops Plus went and took everything Portable Ops did and expanded on it, while the only negative is that this version of the game didn't have a story, which a lot of people didn't like at the time. It ended up refining an experience that I honestly consider to be the pinnacle of classic Metal Gear stealth games. Probably the best stealth game for me, period. But of course this video is just my opinion, so let's get into why I enjoy Portable Ops Plus. If you played the original Portable Ops, you get given a chance to transfer your save data. This lets you have a good starting roster for the game. Even if you maxed out your soldiers in the original Portable Ops though, a lot of them here won't have their stats seeming to be that good due to Portable Ops Plus expanding the limits of the game and rebalancing everyone to compensate. MPO Plus adds more skills that soldiers can have, more weapon variety and special items, more maps, as well as more characters like soldiers from Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2. Hell, even female soldiers as well. This means that no matter what your starting roster is, it's going to end up pretty outdated if you start out Portable Ops Plus. The gameplay between Portable Ops Plus and the original remains unchanged. You're going through the same levels that the original Portable Ops had, including a few new ones. You can still recruit soldiers by stuffing them into the back of a truck, and the teams you can assign your soldiers into still help in getting more intel, as well as better weapons and items. The main difference though is that everything in Portable Ops is randomized. Not just the soldiers that show up in each level, but the levels themselves, the items that you can get, and finally where you start and end each level is randomized as well. You don't get told where the end goal of the level is either, unless you happen to grab a secret document. These secret documents can only be obtained by searching guards. and then once you grab it, it shows on the map for you. To top it all off, everything in Portable Ops Plus is completely OSP, meaning that you start with nothing every time that you play and you have to find your equipment and your weapon on site. And this to me just makes the game way more replayable than it would seem at first glance. Stealth in MGS has mostly been handled one of two ways: the linear encounter-based stealth, which is seen in the MSX games all the way to Peace Walker, and the open world sandbox, which is in Phantom Pain. With the first type, you're going through the game in sections, where each map is its own encounter, where guards follow a linear or sometimes scripted patrol route. Because the maps tend to be on the small side and you have a limited arsenal, it can be considered fairly easy to memorize and sneak through without much surprises. Compare that to the open world sandbox, where even though the story missions also have scripted sequences, the sheer scale and amount of variety that you have to tackle missions, including stuff like day and night cycles to alter patrol routes, allow for much more variety in missions just from the amount of approaches you have available. To me, Portable Ops seems to be in the middle of these two options. Even the enemies that are randomized on each stage have a gameplay twist to them. While the guards in MPO Plus don't exactly have random patrol routes, the fact that soldiers may not seem to be the same adds enough to change the encounter to keep it fresh, especially since on every run, you may not go to the same place twice. There's also a mechanic that lets you blend in using any individual character, so if you have a soldier of the same type, they will be completely ignored by guards, and it can be seen by the little icon on the top of the screen. And I have to repeat the fact that you don't get to bring your own equipment in. So while I do enjoy making loadouts in Phantom Pain, I would just end up defaulting to whatever worked the best. And that just always ended up being the good old trank gun. Yeah, Metal Gear really ended up relying on giving players this thing as the series went on, and honestly, I can understand the point of it, but it really becomes a crutch I'd rather avoid using nowadays. So MPO Plus forcing you to not only not have that weapon, but no items at all, forcing you to have to scavenge, means that no matter if you're at early game or end game, the guards will always be a threat because you have to constantly be exploring the levels without much assistance to get the weapons and gear that you need to progress. Personally, I like that stealth always remains the focus here and doesn't get trivialized. Instead, it is the core of the experience all throughout, and the randomization of things makes it so you never seem too comfortable even though you've memorized the map layout, because any items and weapons that you might find are not going to be the exact same the last you found them. Don't get me wrong, there are things that you can bring to make it easier though. Building up your army and respective units will give you higher chances of getting better weapons, items, and information, so you can see them on your radar or the map. Even the soldiers you recruit have skills that make the game more interesting because you can synergize with a good set of abilities your soldiers have. Plus, you can blend in with them when the chance to do so shows up. It's these things that constantly keep you in the loop of improving your army so that you can improve your odds out in the field. Sounds like a Metal Gear roguelike mixed with Pokemon, when I think about it. The game does have unique characters like Snake, and he's still a solid character to use, having the most HP or stamina you might ever see until endgame. The difference is that he and many other unique characters don't tend to have special skills, at least not more than one in certain cases. Soldiers you recruit can have up to 4 skills, all influencing how useful they can be, making the unique characters better reserved for later in the run when you're fully equipped, as they tend to have the most durability, especially considering the cost of failure can result in having to restart a run by reloading your save, or continuing the run but losing that character.
Damn it, we lost one. Select the next soldier immediately.
Yeah, you could actually lose Snake from your roster, with the only way of getting him back is by hopefully finding him as a prisoner in one of the levels. You can even find other special characters this way too. Thankfully, the difficulty options provided vary the intensity of the game. The difficulty options for this game influences a few things. It influences the amount of guards there are in each level, and if there are more than one type there or not. So even if you blend in with one type of guard, there are other guards of a different type that can still spot you. So you won't have as much of an easy time exploiting this to your advantage, and it also makes their line of sight greater, but to be fair, it is a PSP game, it's not going to be a huge difference like in MGS3. And of course you take more damage on higher difficulties, and depending on the stats that the enemy soldiers have that you fight, they may end up being really good shots. The final thing that it changes is that it influences how many stages you have to go through, each one increasing by 5. So in extreme difficulty you have 20 levels to go through, which can easily take you an hour or longer to fully finish. Every few stages you get a special stage, which gives you a challenge to complete. These can vary from having to get to the goal without being spotted, to having to disarm claymores, eliminate everyone in the area, to even just trying to get to the goal within the time limit. Every time you finish a difficulty you get a rank, and a specific unique character for the first time of clearing it. The ranks are only given to the character that beats the last stage, and it gives an XP boost to the whole crew depending on what it is. Yeah, you level up your characters by completing runs, so their stats and skills have potential to level up. If they have this white border next to their specific stat or skill, it means that they've reached that limit. And this is currently what's keeping me playing this game even today. No matter how much I play, I can always get better gear, a better soldier, and I can always go for a high rank. It just has a refined gameplay loop that caters to specifically hit that Metal Gear itch I have, and it doesn't waste a lot of time. It also helps that the music just in general slaps in this game too. Like yeah, I can load up MGS 5, do a single mission, but then I end up getting stuck doing side ops for 5 hours because I just hate seeing them on the damn map. In this game I don't have to worry about any of that stuff, it's just straight to the point, pure stealth gameplay, while still having the base management stuff in the background that you manage every time you finish. It doesn't take over like it does in later games, yet it feels more interesting here because the characters are all unique. You can always switch it up and just make up your own special team you want to use, because they all have different models and different voices that complement them. It honestly sucks that this game has so many characters that will probably never see the light of day anymore. Each region the game released in got special characters that could only be obtained in specific ways. A lot of these characters aren't super useful, but they were unique, and it's a shame that so many are unobtainable unless you mod the game or there's a save file floating around that has them. If all this is making it sound like I think Portable Ops is better than Peace Walker or Phantom Pain, then I'd like to clarify my point so far. While Peace Walker and Phantom Pain give you a lot more options, I feel like for a straight up stealth game, Portable Ops excels in areas these games do not. Portable Ops is more in line with classic Metal Gear stealth, where you're always looking for weapons and items while infiltrating an urban environment. The maps also being in a more sandbox type of design helps sell the randomized aspect of it. That doesn't mean the game did not have problems though. It being a PSP game meant that frame rate and resolution is pretty low. Back when I played this on original hardware, I didn't seem to mind it much, but playing it now, I cannot begin to handle 20 FPS for this game. Now, emulation does fix a lot of these issues, making the game more playable, but seeing as how this was the normal experience when it released, I can see why it didn't catch on. MPO Plus is also just a companion to the original Portable Ops, which while the original did sell well, because Plus didn't have any actual story and was just considered an add-on to the original game, it sold less than even the Acid games. I'm not sure how much Kojima's lack of involvement helped things in there either, but considering how well Peace Walker ended up doing later on, it's pretty clear why they went the direction they did moving forward. Other than that, I feel like a lot of issues that MPO Plus might have is more due to the lack of exploration of ideas that a sequel might have fixed. A great example is the gameplay. You can really only enjoy it if you really specifically like this kind of stealth gameplay. Because you always start with no items, it means that for a majority of every run, you're always just sneaking around unarmed. And there's not as many non-lethal options as there are in later games. The thing that keeps it fun though is the recruiting mechanics, as it makes trying to find the best soldiers in each stage a challenge on its own. But if you reach endgame, now you don't have that anymore, and all you're left with is moving to the goal. Eventually you sort of hit a plateau where there's not much you can do to progress without joining one of the online revival servers, or just getting a hack save that lets you get all the unobtainable soldiers. But at the end of the day, I feel like the ideas they had with Infinity Mission was solid, it just needed the kind of content and variety to really push it further. I honestly do think that this game has a solid enough gameplay loop that it could be seen as a free-to-play game today. Sure, it may need to change a few things so the game could make money, but getting more content like new maps and more unique soldiers from across the series would be insane. It sort of makes this game ahead of its time in a way. Unfortunately, it remains stuck on the PSP, with a lot of its content sorely missing. And the future of Metal Gear? Well, other than the rumors that pop up every month, it seems there's not much hope of anything new on the horizon there. But instead of hoping for anything new Metal Gear related, I think it's good to just enjoy what we did manage to get and appreciate it for what it was. Metal Gear is a series that spans multiple console generations and has attempted a lot of wacky ideas. Some that caught on and some that didn't, but almost none of the games feel like they're worth skipping out on. They almost all have something unique that is worth playing the games for. So keep on playing them. I hope I was able to show you guys why I like the stealth gameplay of Portable Ops a lot. If you're wondering why this video took so long, you can thank Hurricane Fiona for leaving me without power or internet for a good few months. Hopefully I didn't keep you all waiting for this one. That's all from me, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you all on the battlefield.